2025 Hyundai Santa Cruz XRT and 2025 Ford Maverick Tremor. One is a crossover that looks like a truck. The other one is a mini F-150 with hiking boots. On one side, we have the XRT. On the other side, we've got the Tremor. They both scream adventure, but which one actually means adventure? Let's roll! Let's begin first with the exterior. What do they offer? Starting first with the Santa Cruz XRT, which XRT means extreme terrain. It's supposed to be a proper off-roader. The first thing you notice is all the cladding in the Santa Cruz XRT. The fenders, the side skirt with the Santa Cruz badge, and then you've got the little icon for the center part for the front side, which you can actually remove this with the clip underneath. It's a little Santa Cruz logo in there. A nice touch. The paint that this thing comes with is called Canyon Red, but it looks more like orange. We've got some blacked out pieces on the side. It does come with off-road tires technically, but these are not for heavy off-road, continental terrain contact. And then we've got 18-inch wheels. Moving on to the front side, this is where you might confuse this with a Tucson because it looks very much like a Tucson and it's based off a Tucson. But with the XRT package, you get some little quirks. First up, you've got the two recovery hooks painted in the same color as the actual exterior paint. Nice touch, Hyundai. And then we have the blacked out grille, matte black. Also, the daylight running lights, which look a bit like wings. Now, most off-roaders offer what's called a skid plate, which protects the bottom front end of the vehicle. Unfortunately, the XRT, well, you might want to check the area before you take this, because if you hit the rock, it has no protection underneath. And then we have the Maverick Tremor, which this gets a little bit wilder compared to the Santa Cruz. First up, we've got this beautiful green, which is called Eruption Green Metallic. This would be my paint choice. It's got the perfect tone, the perfect contrast. First thing you notice is the side profile. We've got the wheels, 18-inch wheels, but these are actual off-road tires, which for day-to-day might be a little bit louder, but we'll talk about that when we go for off-roading. These are 17-inch wheels, so smaller wheels overall. But the first thing you notice is that to make sure that you can find the valve for the tires, in case if you want to lower the tire pressure and the wheel is completely filthy, they've painted in this beautiful gold orange thing so that you can identify the valve. Nice touch. We've got the Tremor badge on the side, beautiful side skirts with this stripe that you can see around it, blacked out at the bottom. The painted door handles in matching color with the exterior paint choice, unlike the one in the Santa Cruz, which are in black, but we have glossy mirrors. Then you move on to the back side, we've got the Tremor badge continuing so that people, when they're passing you, they know this is not just a standard Maverick. Now, moving on to the front end, the first thing you recognize about this model is the fact that we have new daylight running lights. So this is the 2025 model, which means it gets a facelift, and you have this sort of C version for the daylight running lights, and you have the gold painted portion on the grille, as you can see, and also the recovery hooks at the bottom. We have a blacked out badge for the Ford. On top of the hood, we have these stripes for the Tremor package. But unlike the XRT, this one does have protection. It has a metal piece underneath to protect the engine. In case if you go in certain areas, you find a rock, this thing will protect your vehicle, which is really important. Moving on to the rear end, we'll start first with the Maverick. The first thing you notice, the Maverick badge at the back, so that people know this is a Maverick. They don't confuse this with an F-150 or a Ranger. Next thing is it has this side step over here into the middle, a large piece, and also a Tremor badge Of course, to open the tailgate, this is not powered, it's manually opening, I get that, but it's pretty light. It's not as heavy. And then if you come closer, we've got a couple of things here for the Maverick. You've got a compartment onto this side, in case if you want to store something, a toolbox, screwdriver, anything like that you might need for the truck. Next thing is it does have a plug, 120 volts on the right side. It has a light at the top, like a pickup truck. It also has an actual window, a small window if you have a dog, and when you open the window so that they can breathe or they can look at the back. And then we have the Ford badge like you find in the F-150 into the bed side. It does have these rails here in case if you want to purchase a cover. Next thing is, and then we have the Hyundai Santa Cruz, which it's an interesting design. You see, it was designed in California, and it says right here on the actual tail light. You don't see a standard pickup truck style here. You see a different design, very much like 90s trucks, I would say, or maybe like the Cybertruck would be one, which is also designed in California. But this one came out first. Instead of having a flat backside, this one, it's a bit more curved. It's a unique design. Then you have little details like the quirks. It has the Hyundai logo on top over here, like the Santa Cruz logo. And then you have the Santa Cruz onto the side here for the center of the fender, so you know where the centerpiece is. Next thing is that this one does come with the proper cover, unlike the Maverick, which you have to accessory, that you have to purchase it separately. It does have a window in the back, but the overall window in the rear side is smaller compared to the Maverick. It does have the brake light at the top and a standard light, so you get the best visibility for the bed at night. And then we have the actual tailgate, which you can open manually. But one thing that I notice is a couple of added details to the Santa Cruz. Like we have the logo at the top here that looks like a Santa Cruz. We have one more onto the side, and we have another one onto the side besides the side fenders. Tail lights. Another thing I noticed is the actual daylight running light looks like a hammer, like actual hammer. Has the XRT badge, and similar to the Maverick, you have the Santa Cruz logo all the way across, that people know this is a Santa Cruz. And then you can open the tailgate, which is sort of like a soft closing and opening option compared to the Maverick. But here's something interesting about the Santa Cruz that I'm going to show you that you don't get with the Maverick. Now, in terms of cargo space, the Maverick offers about 33.3 cubic feet of space. And while here you're looking about 27 cubic feet of space, which is less because the bed is smaller, it's not as wide, it's not as deep. But what they have included here is extra storage, something that you also find in the Honda Ridgeline. So you can store anything in here that you don't want it to be on the outside. And if you want to, you can probably top this up with ice and put some cold beer in it. And once it's melted, it does have a plug that you can remove to drain it, which is pretty smart, I must admit. Something you don't get with the Maverick. Moving on to the second row, we'll start first with the Santa Cruz. If you fold the seats up, you get extra space, so you can make use of this entire area. In case if you have tools, you can just store them nicely here. I mean, if you want, you can just remove the seats completely in case you don't use them at all. But it does give you extra storage underneath. And you can fold the seats manually. We've got this lever on the side here, strap that you pull. And now you've got the seats folded down. Now, in terms of space in the second row, I'm 6'2", so that gives you an idea. You get some headroom, you get some leg room, nice window on this side, small window in the back. There's an armrest as well with 2 cup holders. There's 2 USB-C ports in there and 2 air vents. There is no panoramic roof, just a standard single roof in this case. And we've got a light at the top, and that's about it. Pretty comfortable. I would be okay being a passenger in this one. Let's jump into the Maverick. Now, the first thing you notice is that unlike the Santa Cruz, this one, you can fold up the entire seat, and the Santa Cruz is 60/40, but you do get extra compartment. And one thing I noticed is that this is much larger in terms of space overall compared to the one in the Santa Cruz. And to fold it down, you have the same strap And then we jump into the second row. Now, right off the bat, I've got a bit more headroom in the Santa Cruz, but this one has it at the back because there's a sort of like a pushed in portion for your headroom space. There's speakers on this side over here. The thing with the Maverick is that it feels like a Lego, the way it's built, like the door handles. There's a lot of space here for drinks, some more space that you'll find in the Santa Cruz on the door panel itself. In terms of space overall for me, you've got some leg room. The way the seats are designed, they're kind of like pushed in with some pockets in here so you can store some stuff. But it feels like a little bit more leg room, but they're very similar. It's hard to tell. We've got two USB-C ports in here, 120 volt charging, something you don't get with the Santa Cruz. And if you need more cup holders, the Maverick offers an accessory that you can purchase. It's a 3D printed version. I showed you in the actual Maverick review that I did, and you can insert in here and have two more cup holders, besides the fact that you do get an armrest with two cup holders as well. But let's just say that you have someone in here and you don't know where to store it. They've been pretty clever with this. You can purchase that one separately. It doesn't have any panoramic roof, just a sunroof in the front, and that's about it. It's got a nice leather interior, so that's it. Now let's jump into the front, and let's start first with the Santa Cruz. Into the Santa Cruz. When you jump in, you realize that this is pretty much an SUV, not a pickup truck, unless you look at the icon or you know that there's a bed in the back. It feels like a Hyundai Tucson. It's based on the Tucson. Nothing crazy here. But let's start it up and let me show you some of the things that I like and some of the things that it's missing as a pickup truck or an off-roader. Let's start it up. Here we go. And we've got the massive screen here lit up. It also says service in 2,800 kilometers. Not sure why. Oh, it's got 5,000 kilometers. That makes sense. It's time to take this for service. Now, the first thing when you jump inside, you do feel like an SUV is designed that way. Like we have this centerpiece here, which is right off the Tucson. There's a screen onto the side, the climate units. These are haptic buttons that you can kind of like touch and press and you'll feel them. There's more physical buttons at the top. Then we've got the steering wheel onto this side, which is nice and grippy with pedal shifters in the back. It feels very much like an SUV. Now, here's the things that you're missing in here. Like, for example, first thing you're missing, you don't have any lock-in differential in this case. It doesn't have the off-road, sort of like the telemetrics. They're not available in this vehicle because it's not really an off-roader. It's more like, say, like a medium level, not even medium, like low level off-roader. So you're not really going to take this in some deep areas. But it offers a lot of tech features. You've got heated seats. There's a wireless charging pad in the center. In terms of the driving modes, you have your standard mode, smart, sport, and normal, but it also has terrain mode, snow, mud, and sand. So each one individually does something based on the driving mode. We're going to test that out because we're going to go off-roading, but those are the modes. We also have downhill assist with brake control. We're going to test that out as well. And it does have a 360 camera, as you can see here. In fact, it has a 3D camera. Okay, into the Maverick. Now, the first thing you notice when you jump into the Maverick is the seats, the color. It kind of feels like the galaxy in here, like with little droplets. It's a nice touch. And you've got the stitching, the gold stitching all around. It's very bright. And it also feels like a pickup truck when you jump inside. Right off the bat, you notice this is not a standard SUV. It's not really a full-size pickup truck, but the interior feels like a pickup truck. With the Tremor package, you get the stitching, but also you get the Tremor badge onto the seats. In the Santa Cruz, it's the XRT. It's in black. It's more like stamped rather than stitched like this one. Built tough Ford. It actually sounds and feels like an F-150 a little bit, but it's like a mini version of it. Now, the first thing you notice is the screen in center. This is the new design. You've got built-in navigation system. There is Android Auto, Apple CarPlay. This one has a 360 camera as well, but it doesn't have that 3D version, same as the Maverick, but this will do the job just fine. It does also have a camera when you go off-roading. We'll talk about that when we take them off-roading. And go into the main menu. This is touch screen. Got some extra features in here, easy access for your driver assistant package, your towing, and it's kind of like a split option. There's also the off-road portion, which shows you the pitch and roll, the all-wheel drive system, how it operates. You can go through all these different settings and your trip, fuel economy, and so on. But this one is something you don't get with the Santa Cruz for the off-road, like the pitch and roll, angle, and so on. And then moving on to the steering wheel onto the side, we've got a nice, beautiful stitching all the way around, which I love it. There's also pedal shifters in the back that you can have some fun. And we've got a digital cluster. Let me show you some things about that cluster. The driving modes for the Maverick are located onto the steering wheel. And the first time I drove it, I actually had to look for them because I thought the buttons were for the radio. But you can go through different driving modes. So you've got your eco, your slippery, there's normal mode, there is sport mode in this case, there is the trailing and payloads, and then you've got rough, uneven, mixed terrain. So this is kind of like your off-road. Now, when you go into the off-road, it changes a little bit because you have your off-road status in this case. And if we move on to the cluster side, if we move on to the infotainment side, you can see that's the front camera, and it shows you with the actual tire marks, so you know where you're driving and you don't damage the front side. So we're going to talk about that when we go for a drive, how helpful that feature is. Now, moving on back to the actual cluster in this case, there's a lot of information it shows you, but this is fully digital, unlike the previous models that used to offer only analog. This is and a little bit digital. This is fully digital all the way through. Shows you quite a lot of information in there. And you can change different settings if you wanted to. So you can do my view, trip, towing, status, vehicle maintenance, and so on. Or you can just keep it in the off-road mode. So this one will show you a lot of information when you go off-roading. There's a wireless charging pads. And in case if you have a passenger and they want to have their phone standing, you can use this portion over here to put your phone like that in case if it's fully charged. There's also more space behind that, but I'm going to leave my phone to charge. And then we have two cup holders in here. This is the gear lever, in this case, a scroll. You got access to all the buttons for your rear lock-in differential, four-wheel drive lock-in. You've got your one pedal assist. There's extra space onto the side, and there's more space in front of the armrest. So it's nice area, and it offers a lot of storage here for you to put your cup holders or phones or keys or anything like that. And it's easy. You just jump in and just throw them right in there. Engine and horsepower. First, the Maverick Tremor. It uses a 2-liter inline-4 turbocharged engine. No hybrid with this package. This one, it makes 238 brake horsepower and 276 pound-feet of torque. It is equipped with an 8-speed automatic transmission. It is a 4-wheel drive system. And this one uses a twin-clutch rear drivetrain, so that way you can do the rear lock-in differential as well. It has advanced all-wheel drive with a twin clutch rear drive unit and with selectable modes. Plus, you get the option to lock the rear diff. The Santa Cruz, on the other hand, well, it makes more horsepower. It uses a 2.5-liter inline-4 turbocharged engine, making 281 brake horsepower and 311 pound-feet of torque. It uses an 8-speed automatic transmission. It is the H-Track, which is Hyundai traction control all-wheel drive system. It's not a 4-wheel drive. You can get the option to select an actual wheel lock in the back. It doesn't come with the lock-in differentials. It doesn't come with a lock-in differential. But the Hyundai Santa Cruz can tow up to 5,000 pounds with a payload of 1,695 pounds. Meanwhile, the Maverick Tremor can tow up to 4,000 pounds with the 4K towing package, and it has a payload of about 1,500 pounds. So essentially, if you want more towing, in fact, 1,000 pounds more, the Santa Cruz is probably the better option. What about the suspension system? Because that's also very important. And how do they drive on normal roads? Because not everyone is going to take these off-roading. The Santa Cruz XRT uses independent McPherson strut up front, and multi-link independent suspension system in the back with coils all around. It is tuned for regular roads. The damping is not as stiff, but it does add the all-terrain tires, in this case for off-roading. In terms of extras, it does have anti-roll bars, gas-charged shocks in this case. It does have a bit of a firm ride, but not the most uncomfortable. And then we have the Ford Maverick, which also has McPherson struts with coil springs in the front. It has a twin-tube gas shocks and sway bar, which is pretty standard with this package. The rear setup on the Maverick, it's short and long arm independent shocks, which are tuned for off-roading. It adds 1-inch lift for better trail clearance. Now, what does that actually mean? Well, let me explain to you for normal roads. The Maverick has slightly stiffer suspension system. It's not as plushy compared to the one in the Santa Cruz, which is more like an SUV. The Maverick feels a bit more like an off-roader. In fact, the closest one that matches this kind of ride feels like the Honda Passport that we drove recently. But having said that, it's not unbearable on the road, but you can feel a little bit of stiffness once you jump from there, the Santa Cruz XRT, to this. There is a difference in terms of the ride overall. You also hear the road noise a bit more in the Maverick with the Tremor package. You can hear it at a higher speed, kind of whistling a little bit. You don't hear that as much on the Santa Cruz XRT, and I think it has to do with the tires. They've got thicker treads on this one, on these tires that we have, the Goodyear, that we have the all-terrain with the 17-inch wheels. Meanwhile, in the Santa Cruz XRT with the 18-inch wheels, the Continental one are not as loud on the road. But let's not forget something which is super important. The tires on the Maverick Tremor will handle a little bit better off-roading. Now, there's only one way to find that out, and that's what we're going to do next, is take the Santa Cruz first for a quick off-road and see how it does with the package that it comes. The Santa Cruz, we're gonna put driving mode, and we're gonna do sand because we're sand right now. And I'm gonna turn off traction completely so it gives us the best and the most power. Here we go. So we're gonna go uphill and see how this bad boy does. Although, come on, that's struggling a bit. There we go. Oh, slowly. Problem I have with this thing is that it does not have the best departure angle. Come on, come on. Nope, it's struggling. Come on. Nope, come on. I need more speed to get up this hill. Okay, here we go. Come on, wake up. Okay, here we go. I don't want to break the front bumper, rip the front bumper. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. There we go. Like, even pedal to the metal is just... See, the thing is that it's not made for this. I think I'm rubbing the front end everywhere on this thing. Come on. Here we go. It's just, I'm actually terrified because compared to the Maverick, this does not have the same approach angle, only break even, and it's not as high off the ground. This is about 8.8 or 8.7. Meanwhile, the Maverick's about 9.1, which is a lot better than this. And if I get stuck around here, then I have to call Anthony to bring over the Maverick to pull me out because I have no tools for this to get myself unstuck, like no lock-in differential, no stabilizer disengagement, none of that. It's sort of like good luck. Here we go. Okay, so this is one of my favorite spots here because it's got the proper road to see the approach angle and departure angle. I don't feel confident enough. I feel like I'm gonna flip the hell out of this thing and... Yeah, there we go. Yeah, it rubbed a little bit. And then, let's see the rear tire. It's almost up in the air, almost. Okay, let's see. I have a feeling I'm gonna rip the rear bumper of this thing. Here we go. Come on, Hyundai. The rear. Come on. Yep, it rubbed to the back. Oh. Okay, we've got downhill assist. Let's try that one. Here we go. Downhill assist. Here we go. Okay. Here we go. There we go. Okay. Downhill braking. Doing a pretty decent job. Oh, what happened? Did it just release itself? Come on, downhill assist. Okay, it's doing a pretty good job. We've got the Maverick. First of all, driving modes are right in here on my steering wheel. We go to sand off-road, basically. Pretty simple. On multiple. And here we go. Traction is off as well. It does all the work for you. You don't have to stress out much. And off we go. Right off the bat. A bit more confident in the Maverick overall because of the tools that it offers. You go up the hill. Just power all the way through in this thing, which is impressive. Look at that. No problem. I'm like 30% on the throttle, not even in. And I can already feel the power delivery of this beauty. Look at that. There we go. Go around here. No chance of rubbing. Got great approach angle. It's lifted a little bit higher compared to the Santa Cruz XRT. It's got the proper balance of suspension. I've got lock-in differential in case if it got stuck. Got myself out in certain situations. Shocks are tuned for off-roading, so a little bit stiffer than normal. You can't do any Baja style, of course, but they won't go as low. That way it protects the front end, because if the suspension is very soft, when you hit the top, the high part, and then it bounces down, that's when you start hitting the bottom and you can damage everything. I also have protection for the engine, so I'm not too concerned. I'm using about 10 to 15% less throttle work than the Santa Cruz in the Maverick. It doesn't need that much pressure because it's already four-wheel drive, so the power is delivered as it should to each wheel. Doing some articulations here to see how the suspension handles this side. No problem, easy peasy. Not bad at all. Mind you, both are unibodies. They're not body on frame, so I think Hyundai could have put a little bit more work, but they don't have the experience like Ford does. Like Ford makes off-road machines. They know what they're doing. They've got the engineering capabilities. Hyundai is not quite there yet, and eventually they will, as they have done with every other vehicle out there, EVs and sports cars as well. Speed, there we go. So this is one pedal trail assist. So essentially it's your cruise control for off-roading. It will do the job itself, no problem. And you can set the speed on the screen. I can see, like, this is the perfect one. I've got the camera at the front as I'm driving. It's always on there. And here we come to this little road that we did. Okay, we're gonna cancel the trail assist and we're gonna try the same as we did with the Santa Cruz to see. Okay, it's all the way at the bottom. Let's see now. Oops. Look at that. See, there's not, like, it's not rubbing at all, like it's perfect. And let's look at the rear tire. Yeah. Rear tire is up in the air. That you can see over here. That's what you want. And let's try and get out of this part. There we go. Into drive. Yeah, Ford does not care whatsoever. And then let's see the end. Rear end rubbed a little bit. Okay. Could be the exhaust part. And we're gonna do trail, one pedal, drive. We're gonna set the speed, 2 kilometers, and here we go. Let's do 4 kilometers. 2, it's pretty low. We've got the camera on the front. Front sensors are. We've got the pitch and roll in there, so I can see all the angles of the vehicle. I can increase the speed here. Superb. There we go. Nice work for it.